some underexposure, and like you were maybe working on the edge of the negative, and just wanted you to talk about sort of, I know it's both of you together, working together, maybe you could just talk about things you did or things you tested or things you tried.
We did test for about 4 weeks, actually, strangely enough, as long as Jerry rehearsed with actors. I tested various negatives and process and shot tests and discarded half of it and ended up with what you see. It really starts with the screenplay. After I read it, we met with Jerry, and I suggested seeing a film which was not popular here or wasn't even shown in the United States. It was called The Battle of Algiers, Guido Pantorcarova's film. And I saw it not too long before I left Poland, and it was one of those films that convinced me that whatever I was looking at, I believe happened in front of me. And Jerry agreed, and he liked the look of the film. It was a black and white film. So I was trying to do 2 things when I shot tests, to remove as much color as possible. And in fact, the other night when we were screening it, some people thought it was shot in black and white, which it wasn't. Use of the long lenses and underexposures, indeed, especially in intimate scenes of the film. And that can only happen when you have a decent relationship with the director and the rest of the creative team, where you can have a long dialogue scene. Example would be when Kitty tells Al that she slept with his brother. And Al buries his head in his shoulders, and when he lowers his head, you don't see any expression in his eyes because it's black. And I looked at it, and you don't want to start a long conversation at that point. You can start adding light, or you look at it understanding what is going on and say to yourself, well, it's not all that bad if some people in the audience will fill that void with their own faces and respond to it emotionally. Imagine if you were doing a studio film and you were doing this kind of thing. They would say, well, we're paying $20 million to an actor and we don't see his face. It all depends on relationship with the director, especially. Not too long ago, I worked on a film where the actor, well-known and a good actor, who is also a director, while we were waiting for something, said to me, you know, when I work with a cinematographer, I tell him, light this half of the set, from here to there, and let actors go wherever. I want to see them. Well, this kind of non-selective lighting doesn't allow you much room for expression.
However, this was a studio film, was it not?
It was a studio film, but somehow we felt sheltered from it, and not all the time, by the way. A few days after we started shooting, the producer of the film came to Jerry and myself at lunchtime, and so he got a call from the studio head saying, look, you're shooting this film in New York, and I don't see New York back there. I don't see Empire State Building. And you know, we told him that that's the way we wanted to do it, and to his credit, he went to the phone and said, that's what they want to do, and he pushed it through.
It was a studio film, but and with good producers too. Dick Zanuck and David Brown, but then something happened there, and in the middle of the film, Dick Zanuck's father fired him because he was chairman of the board. And the producer and I were called in for a meeting, and he was fantastic. He was a little man with a big cigar, a big desk, and a big office, and he came in with a cigar, and we thought, maybe this guy's a little gaga. And he knew everything that I was trying to do. He said he saw the dailies from day one, And he knew the idea of just taking the cap off the lens, capturing it, closing it up. He just knew everything. And you know that the old moguls knew what they were doing in making films. Unfortunately today, most of the studios are run by accountants and they don't really know films. Yes?
Right here, hold on, Mike. On this side.
From what's been said, I take it there wasn't a lot of improvisation in the acting. So that's the first question, was there? But the second question is, was the script just more or less handed off by Didion and Dunn, or was there any rewriting once you got into rehearsals?
I don't know for sure. You know, I had dinner with Kitty the other night, and we were talking, and we thought that it was pretty much the script. And she said, yeah, but I can remember a scene that I thought there was too much dialogue, and then I cut it down. So there were minor things that we changed, and I think I remember the producer, who was the brother of the writer, and would every once in a while go storming out of the editing room. Maybe didn't like my interpretation of what they had written or whatever. But the whole essence of this film is in that script. You know, I did a film with Harold Pinter, and I felt obliged because the actors were all English. They'd always say, "Does Mr. Pinter know you're changing that?" And I'd call Mr. Pinter, who was a great friend at that point, and he'd say, "No, that sounds wonderful, wonderful." And then finally, after 4 calls, he said, "You don't have to call me, I trust you."
I had a question, I guess kind of for everybody. Kitty, you were fantastic, but since the only person kind of isn't really represented here is Al, I had a question that was, he certainly wasn't who he is today back then. What was it like to work with him? And
neither am I.
No, I didn't mean to say. No, absolutely.
Adam's the only one to say.
Right, okay. I guess really my question is, did you have any sense at that time working with him that he would become the force that he became in film?
I did. That's why I wanted to work with him. I had seen him on stage, and I thought he was just so powerful. You know, I hadn't seen actors like that on stage. And Francis Coppola thought the same thing, because while we were putting our film together, Al tested 4 times for Paramount. They rejected him all 4 times until we sent them 20 minutes of panic. And Francis wanted him, but the studio didn't want him. Al had that luck at the beginning.
What did they reject him for?
They didn't think he was the right look to be the Godfather.
There's